që në çastin që hapëm dyert, u përpoqëm vetëm të shkëlqenim. Filluam Olimpiadën Kombëtare të Matematikës e të formimit të përgjithshëm dhe nuk u ndalëm, derisa u bëm pjesë e komunitetit global të shkollave të Cambridge-it, me programe dhe kualifikime të Cambridge International Examinations, lider botëror në ofrimin e programeve mësimore për moshat 5 deri 19 vjeç. Nxitoni të regjistroheni tek Udha e Shkronjave, Cambridge International School, organizatore e Olimpiadës Kombëtare.
So first of all, real pleasure to be here. First time, well actually second time in Tirana, so it's very nice to be back. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you an overview of the colleges that I work for. Okay, there are obviously many boarding schools in the UK, so there's a lot of choice. But if you are thinking of going to the UK, hopefully this will kind of give you a little bit more of an insight. So just to start, so my name is Peggy, so I'm responsible for Europe, and also we do have lots of international students that are already in the UK as well. I'm actually, you might hear an accent, but I'm actually originally from France. But I have been in the UK for a long time now. I was only supposed to stay 1 year, but I don't even count the years anymore. So with Abbey College, group of colleges, there are 3 colleges. Abbey College in Cambridge, DLD College in London, and Abbey College in Manchester. So there are, like I said, many schools to choose from. You have the very traditional boarding schools, like the ones in Harry Potter. We're not those ones, we're more urban. Okay, so this is where also when you are looking at where you want to go, what kind of school will really best suit you, basically. Okay. So obviously, first of all, just to say, you're already studying obviously international GCSEs, so you know obviously the international perspective of it. But obviously the benefit of studying in a boarding school, or what we can also call an independent sixth form college, which is from the age of 16, it's obviously first of all the academic excellence, but I hear here you've got very good results as well, which is great to hear. The advantage obviously is that they provide you very much with a nurturing environment, so they've got obviously very well qualified teachers, but also not just the point that they're qualified, it's the fact that they know how to teach international students, and that's very important actually, because you may have schools where they have a higher proportion of British students than just international students, whereas where we have more international students, the teachers are very used to that, okay, and for you it's better as well. Obviously small classes, usually 8 to 12 students, which means that obviously what we can do is give you a more supported learning environment. It means that there is a very strong relationship between the teacher and the student. They know very well your weaknesses, they know very well your strength, and they're able to give you additional support, give you some mentoring, some guidance, basically, which is very important throughout your journey. Obviously, the strong academic results mean also that you're going to go into the top universities. A lot of our students will tend to carry on in the UK, but we do have some students who go to the US, or decide to go in Europe or Asia. But obviously for us, preparing students for Oxford, Cambridge, and obviously what we call the Russell Group universities, I don't know if you've heard of it, they're the top 24 universities, okay, in the UK. Obviously improving your English, the cultural diversity, so that's also very important. It's about preparing you to be a global citizen, about sharing those perspectives, etc., preparing you for later on beyond university. So for example, with DLD College London, we've got about 56 nationalities, so there's about 40% of students that are British, but the rest, it's a nice variety, and you learn so much from their culture, the way they do business, etc. Very interesting. Obviously building long-term relationships, but also the emphasis that the schools will put on very much is about you as an individual. We want you to be a well-rounded individual. So it's about character building, making sure you're self-reliant, you're resilient, you know how to embrace a challenge, face the difficulty. It's about problem solving, all these kind of things. And the way we do it is that outside the academic curriculum, we also have, obviously, all those extracurricular activities. So we've got lots. So Cambridge, London, we've got more than 50 activities and clubs, ranging from sports to the creative side, but also things that will complement your studies as well, preparing you if you want to do medicine, or if you want to do engineering, all these kind of things. And then you also have opportunities about, in terms of building leadership skills. So we have, for example, houses, like in Harry Potter. You belong to a house, there's some healthy competitions taking place, you want your house to win, and there will be challenges, all these kind of things. And you can learn to be a leader, you know, and motivate other people. So all these are skills that university want to see. We don't just want to see someone who's got an A star. That's great, it's good, you need this, but they also want to see everything else you've got around it, okay? So here what I've just put, so this is just to kind of give you an indication of what we do. We don't do school from a very early age. What we do is we start from the age of 13, 14, up to about 19, 20. The core of our education is GCSEs and A-levels. But we also have what we call a foundation. I don't know if you've heard that term before, an international foundation. That can be very useful for students, for example, who do A-levels, but then for some reason they find it really difficult. They're struggling, it's a different system to what they're used to. So in the year 12, if the teachers identify students who are not going to do as well, and therefore are not going to be able to go to those universities they're aiming for, we can then, if possible, put them into a foundation for the year 13. And it's good because it's available in different pathways: medicine, sport, fashion, business, engineering, computing. But it still allows students, obviously provided they get good grades, to still go into very good universities. So it's a backup, which can be very useful for some. Okay? Fashion products, for example, we have Manchester. They're getting very, very well known for providing GCSEs or A-levels or foundation with professional football training, professional basketball, or cycling and tennis. As you can imagine, football is the one that is more, and we've had students that are mainly for football. So here just a brief mention about the A-level. So 2-year program, it's available in various subjects. There will be some variations from one college to another. So London is the one with the most subjects available. They do the sciences, they do the arts, but they also do film studies, photography, graphic communication, they do a bit more in the humanities, this sort of thing. Cambridge traditionally tends to be more for the sciences, so very much computing, engineering, medicine, but they also do art, for example. Okay? And then we've got Manchester as well, that do a little variety, but they've got it, it's the smallest of our colleges. So here, just very briefly to introduce you, I think you may have already been on the website, so potentially have a look. But starting with Abbey College, Cambridge, it's a lovely school. If I could send my children there, they're British, so I think I'm really small for international students, but that's where I would send them. It was actually created to be Abbey College, Cambridge. It's designed, laid out to cater very much for the students. It's our top performing college out of the 3. They all do well, Cambridge does even better. There's about 48 nationalities. But like I mentioned, it's an international college, so we do have some British students, and we're going to attract more. We're changing a little bit because now we're introducing year 9. But so far it's been primarily an international college. I know some students sometimes will say, oh, I like to have British students as well. But the one thing I would say is that if you ever have the chance, for example, to come and visit, you can see the students are so happy, they're very engaged. And I think it's also because of the support that is there, but also some of the aspects that they offer the students are, they're really pleased with what they've got. So there's this one. So one of the characteristics that they offer, it's called the Elite University Preparation. It's all part of the fees, okay? So what it does is they have 4 different fees. So they've got medicine preparation, they've got an Oxbridge preparation, but then they also have something called Abbey Inspires, which is every night around 6:30. They will have either people from the staff, internal staff, or external speakers who will come and talk about a subject. So even students who are not necessarily studying that area can just attend it, and it's about expanding your knowledge, and that is very, very popular. But the other thing that works really well is what we call a pre-degree program. So what they do is they identify students who want to do architecture, want to do engineering, and they put them into different workshops. So they'll have that, and it's about teaching them what they're not going to be taught within their levels. It's about preparing them for interviews, for their application, but it's about making sure that one, it's also what they want to do later on, and building their knowledge so that when you then go for that interview with the university, you can stand out from the other students because you've acquired a lot more knowledge in the subject, you are better prepared. And I actually had a session that was done for us and some agents, and it was actually brilliant. It was built around economics, and at the end it was just like, I really want to do economics. Very interesting in the way that they do it because it's quite interactive. Then we have DLD College London. This is, in terms of location, you can't find anything better than this boarding school because you see that building, so obviously it doesn't look, when you look at it, like a boarding school. But basically, you're looking ahead, you've got Westminster Bridge, Big Ben is just there. So it's the most central boarding school you'll find. But what's quite unique to it as well is the fact that the classes are on the first 3 floors. The rest, the next 15 floors up, it's the boarding. And you can have other schools where the boarding is within the same school. So if you like to get up a bit late, it's quite handy. So this is just to show you a few pictures as well. But basically, it's been a multi-award. It's had over the last 5 years so many recognitions for the welfare, the well-being, but also being best independent school, all these kind of things. And DLD College London is actually becoming a bit of a point of reference for many schools because what they're doing is they're teaching, they're starting from year 9 at the GCSEs now. Within the curriculum, obviously they teach the traditional subjects, but what they want to do is prepare students, your generations, later on when you have a job. A lot of careers are going to disappear, with AI and all these kind of things, and new careers will also come in. So what they have done is they are building within the curriculum, in addition to those traditional subjects, those subjects that later on will prepare you for careers. So cryptocurrency, we've got like an e-sport room basically. So it's not just about playing games, okay? So it's a multi-billion industry with lots of careers. So it's about preparing the students for what's going on. So they're very innovative and there's a lot of schools that are looking at DLD College like that in that respect. What else? And then Manchester. So Manchester, interestingly, sometimes it's not the most popular destination. People tend to want to go for London, Cambridge, Oxford. But Manchester is actually a great city. It's changed so much over the last 10, 15 years. It's not too big, it's big enough. It's got a lot, there's great universities like University of Manchester, for example. But this is our smallest college, basically. So there's about 250, whereas the other one has about 400, 450 students. Basically they're quite flexible, but like I said, they do as well with professional football, these kind of things as well. Okay? So here, very briefly, we've got tuition and boarding fees. But what they do is they include lots of different things. So they include the textbooks, academic English, because it's about getting the IELTS result that you need for university. It includes obviously extracurricular activities, support to apply for university, guidance, entrance to academic competitions, subject-related field trips, all these kind of things. Here there was just a sample of a timetable. So usually there can be little variation from one college to another, but every morning you will have a registration with your personal tutor. So you've got your own personal tutor, you'll have 15 minutes every morning, where we talk about anything. How are you doing? Any problem, etc. So we always know as well, they know how you're doing. And then obviously schools, they're broken up into periods, as we call them. Obviously morning break, there's a lunch. You finish school at Cambridge at about 3:50, and then you will have the degree diploma workshops, you will have your extracurricular activities and so on. Okay? So I mentioned obviously that we're quite urban, so sometimes the question is, what about sports? What can I do? Because we don't have those big fields. But, for example, Cambridge is right next to a sports centre, so all our students go there, and we've got links with a lot of different sports in Cambridge. Same thing in London, people are like, what can I do? How am I going to play rugby or something? We've got a lot of parks, we've got sports centre links as well, and so students, we even have sometimes students who want to do horse riding. I even had a student from Romania who wanted to bring his horse to UK, believe it or not. So there's that, and then obviously you've got all your clubs, and then you can obviously chill. You are allowed time out, so depending on the age you're at, when you're under 16, you're not allowed to go out on your own, you have to go out as a group, free usually, but as you're 16, 17, 18, we are allowing you to go out, you have a curfew, and it's about teaching you to be responsible. You have to learn to be independent. It's that transition to prepare you for university, but it's about making you responsible. If you don't respect some of the rules, there are consequences. Okay, so that's it's about the character building and those things you were saying earlier. I mentioned, for example, so here's an example with DLD College London. So you belong to a house in London. So you will have the housemaster that looks after the academic side. And then in the evenings and on weekends, you've got your house parents. And they're different to our housemasters. So they are dedicated people who will look after you. And the house parents will organize activities, all these kind of things. Okay? But in London, you can see the names of the houses are after the tube lines on the ground. That was actually chosen by students. So you belong to either District House, Jubilee, and so on. And you accumulate points, as many points as you can for that house. Okay? What else? I think here I just wanted to obviously integrate. So hopefully you can come to the event tomorrow. It's an opportunity to find out more. Speak as well a bit more to Integral. They've got a lot of experience, and we work very closely with them. They can tell you a lot more about other schools as well. Obviously, it's not just us. But one mention is that we do offer scholarships. And it's not just the point of saying, oh, you can't afford it, or you don't have quite that level, etc. It's about also recognizing your academic excellence. So, for example, with DLD College London, they have what we call the Alpha Scholars Program for students who want to do A-levels. You go through a set of, so you've got like an essay to write, first of all, which depends on which pathway you're going to take. Whether it's science, economics, or humanities. Then you have an interview, and if you are, if basically they think that you're an Alpha scholar, they will give you a scholarship of 50% off the tuition fees for the duration of your course, but also during the 2 years that you're with us, being an Alpha scholar means also being involved in various activities, leadership, all this kind of thing. So again, it's something that you put on your application for university. Things that university want to see, okay? And then we also have a standard academic scholarships where you take a test with Integral, and then depending on the grade you get, we can give you a certain percentage of your tuition. So that's available with us across all 3 colleges. And the last thing, I don't know if it's going to work, but it's to show you what it looks like. So this is the college. So the parks I mentioned, very close by, they're like 5-10 minutes walk. We're just by water stations, so very easy to get to, 5 minutes walk, that's it. And as you come in, so you can't just enter the building, it's very, very safe. And this is, so all the flags represent all the nationalities we have in that year, okay? This is the eSport lab I mentioned to you about. There's only 2 or 3 schools in the UK that have got this. That's the art department, so you can see some of the work in preparation for the final show. The classrooms, This is like for students doing media, film, drama, performing arts. Normally the music is a little bit funky. This is the global kitchen. Okay, so this is where, as a boarder, you have your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner. There's also a cafe. Great food, a little bit spicy. I don't do you eat spicy food here, don't you? Sometimes it can be a bit spicy, it depends. We try to vary, but they've got very good food. There's a nutritionist actually, so the principal doesn't want to feed his students with burgers, that's for sure. And this is a boarding school, a boarding room basically with the common room. So as a boarder, all our rooms are with your own bathroom and toilets. Okay, only a few twin rooms where you would share with someone else, but other than that, it's your own room. And then you have time in common rooms. Okay, so obviously boys separated from girls. So that's good. It's quite unusual, isn't it? It depends. I mean, some people really prefer the kind of the older buildings. Others prefer the modern. But we find that year on year now we're getting a lot more students now interested in. I think it's because it's preparing students better in a way as well for universities, like transition. So we get students who start in traditional schools when they're younger, and then at some point when they're 16, 17, they want to start going into a city or a small city. Okay? So I hope this has kind of given you a little bit of an insight. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask? I've been told you've prepared something. No pressure.
Okay, so we would like to know about the admission deadlines. When is the last time you can do the application?
Okay, so if you're looking, for example, so at the moment we're in the admissions for next September. So now is the time. Ideally, it's always best to do it now or early spring. So we're not selective like some schools where you've got to apply well before a year before. Okay, we're not selective, but we do have some solid entry requirements. Obviously, there's the English test that you have to take. There's an interview, and the interview is only with the principal and the vice principal. So those people have got a huge amount of experience. And what we do as part of the interview is very much about identifying who you are a little bit as an individual, making sure you're choosing the right subjects for the pathway you want to do afterwards, trying to guide you a little bit more, what you like, the kind of things you know, and making sure you are the right person and we are the right college for you. And then obviously your transcripts here are very important. So usually there's a process which we obviously do with Integral, where you have to send an application, passports, transcripts, and then we go through that admissions process. I don't know if you want to add something to this actually, Anka, or...
No, actually, I think it's very like you said.
So we don't have entrance exam, in maths or whatever. This is not part of our entry requirements, but obviously with the GCSEs, we want to see. So I would say it's minimum 5, but depending on the subjects you choose, some subjects we will go on 6, 7, or 8. Okay, so if you apply for things like maths, biology, etc., we want to see good grades. We don't want to see just a 5. Do you already know what you want to do later on at university? Any idea?
Not much, but we got something like I want to continue a career which is related to mathematics or computers, but I don't know certainly what I will do.
Yeah, okay, very good. And this is where, with the I mentioned earlier on, the extracurricular activities, they're very handy because they give you an opportunity to get to know about certain subjects within computing that you're not going to be taught when you do mathematics or physics. So it really expands your horizon and your knowledge, which is really interesting. So for example, with e-sport as well, you can learn a bit more about this, because there is a huge industry, artificial intelligence. Nowadays it's a big topic. Any other questions?
So another question I had was, can we choose our own A-level?
Yeah, so I mentioned to you earlier on that obviously we've got a list, and you choose 3, maximum 4 subjects, because you're obviously studying a lot more depth. those subjects. So if you know what you want to do, then obviously, depending on what you want to do, so if you want to do medicine, for example, you have to study biology and you have to study chemistry. These are essentials. If you don't have those, you can't study medicine later, or you can't access a medical school. And then you take maths and this sort of thing. There are many other bachelor programs in universities where there's no specific A-level subjects required. So for example, if you want to do law, you don't have to study law at A-levels, but there will be certain subjects that will be preferential because it's about teaching you critical thinking, writing, so all this kind of essay-based, so things like history, English literature, psychology, or we do things like government and politics that can help prepare a little bit as well. But yes, you will choose your subjects. So do you know already the kind of things you like?
Science.
So science is very strong in science. Okay. So yeah, science, obviously we do physics, we do computing, so Cambridge and London both offer computing as a subject. You can take a fourth one, but it's remembering that, so sometimes what they will do, the college sometimes will say, okay, you can take those four, but by the end of term one, so by December, they may ask you, depending on how you're doing, they may ask you to drop one. Because it is better to focus on 3 and get strong grades rather than 4 and get slightly less. And the universities only want 3 subjects, they're not looking for 4. But then it's remembering as well that you've got all those other things around to build your CV, okay? Which is what we want to see as well. So if you want to do debating club, if you want to think of something related to United Nations, there's drama. Drama is very good as well. Performance, even if you do sciences, because it shows certain skills, communication, this kind of things, confidence, those sort of things. Next question? Yes?
Is there an orientation program for the students, or how can students prepare for the transition?
The transition. So the first thing I would say is that actually when you arrive, so for example, I'm taking the example here of DLD College London. So you arrive first year of A-levels. So you obviously have your housemaster, you've got a personal tutor, there's a director of studies. Throughout the 2 years, we're going to have guidance. So there will be certain touch points in those years where obviously they are supporting you, mentoring you, guiding you. But also there will be, for example, at DLD College London in September, there's a university fair. So we get quite a lot of top-ranked universities that will come, but also some from actually other countries as well. And that already gives the opportunity to students to basically have a bit more understanding of those universities are asking, a bit more about the subjects that are available. You will be also during the year going to visit other universities. So obviously if you're in London, you've got Imperial College, you've got UCL, you've got King's College, so students go and visit those places. But there's a career advice centre, all those kind of things are there. Okay? And the one thing, I mean, I'm talking here, for example, with many, for example, countries in Europe, we're taught in a way where sometimes it's a little bit too theoretical, not when you do obviously GCSEs here, but the advantage with the UK is that it's a market that is quite flexible. So, you know, if you want to be a journalist, you don't have to do journalism within your studies. You can become a journalist later on, you can start with history or this or that. So sometimes you may choose a path, and then actually later on, even after your bachelor, you may decide you want to do something else, and it's still possible. And that's the good thing I find with the UK education system in universities. So you learn every year, you learn something, take you a different path possible.
What about the program? Is there only A-level available?
For us, yeah, so usually you will either have A-levels or you may have the IB, so the International Baccalaureate. That's usually the 2 routes to then go and progress to universities. We don't do the IB, so we focus primarily on A-levels, but I mentioned earlier on the International Foundation. So for us, that's another pathway. So with the foundation, it's either students who, like I mentioned, have gone into year 12, maybe struggle a bit or are not enjoying it as much, and then go into a foundation in engineering or foundation in computing, whatever. Or we have students who do their education here, and then actually they're 17, 18, 19, even 20, and they decide to come and join the foundation. and the foundation is recognised by many universities, except Cambridge, Oxford, and Imperial College. But otherwise, we've got students going to UCL, King's College, etc. So that's usually the routes you will have IB, A levels, and a foundation.
Besides the ones you mentioned, are there any other specific scholarship or financial aid opportunities?
So for us, it's mostly the ones we mentioned. So with us, obviously boarding fees, you have to pay them, okay? So the scholarships we'll do will be discounts off your tuition fees. At the moment, it's mostly DLD College London's Alpha Scholar program. So that's one 50% scholarship. And then basically, whichever college you want to go to, we've got the normal academic scholarship. You will find sometimes on the website it may mention potentially a different type of scholarship, but that will be then for the domestic students, so what we call the British students. They will have something a little bit different. So for international students, this is what we have.
And is 50% the lowest or the highest?
The 50% is the highest that we offer. Yeah. It's very much recognizing how really good the students are. With the other one, I mean, usually we say 20-30%. On some occasion, if we have very good students, say for Cambridge, because they don't do the Alpha Scholars, we may have a student who really good, from an academic point of view, but also as a well-rounded student. Then on occasion we may decide to go a little bit higher than 30, but we work at 35-40%. Okay, if we do.
Talking about housing, will we live by ourselves or have a roommate?
So basically, so all our colleges that I've mentioned here have got boarding accommodation. With Cambridge, you have to live in their boarding. That's mandatory. With DLD College London, it's possible to be a day student, and you can live with a guardian or a relative, because we do have students who've got relatives, for example, in London. There are certain criteria to meet there, which has got to be in compliance with UKVI for visa purposes, but also for safeguarding. But otherwise, we've got our boarding. So for example, with Abbey College Cambridge, they actually have got full boarding houses, and it takes the student on a journey. So they've got one which is part of the school, which is for the under 16. Then they've got one which is literally just next door, which is for the 16 plus. Then they've got another one that they reserve for existing students who are 17. And then we've got another one which is for the 18 plus. And the one that is for the 18 plus is the furthest way, it's about 15 minutes walk. And it takes that student on that transition, preparing them, building their independence. So when you're 16, I'm afraid they're going to ask you to make your bed. Yeah, they're going to say, bring your bed sheets and make your bed. Whereas for the under 16, they'll say, no, we're going to still do it for you. They're going to teach you cooking, all these kind of things, because in the end, you want to learn. I've got my daughter who literally just started at university, she's doing a school of music in London, and she texted me last night and said, Mum, I've just done the washing and I forgot to put the detergent. I wrote my pizza. Do you know what? Right, because this is how you are learning. It's a part of building your independence. So Cambridge is very good like this. They're identifying the needs and they're preparing you for that transition. DLD College London is the same. You've got your own room. You can have a standard single, or you can have a premium room, which is a little bit bigger. But you will have your own bathrooms, your own shower toilets. You then have a common room, which is for the students who are in the same corridor. And basically, you can have like there's a microwave, there's this kind of thing, so you can have your sort of fridges and all these things you can have. It's very modern. Any other questions? You've got a long list of you. Yeah.
The houses are really interesting. How are students divided into houses?
So, what do you mean the houses where the competition thing, or do you mean the actual boarding itself?
No, the houses.
The houses where you're going to. So the way, I mean, actually, it's a good question. I don't know exactly how they will allocate, but basically, it's not going to be just the 16-year-old together who are doing A-levels. A house, when you belong to a house, There will be obviously male, female. There will be students who are in GCSEs. There will be students who are in A-levels and IFE. So they just obviously put you into those groups, and you will have a badge. So usually you've got a lanyard with a certain colour, for example. In Cambridge, I know they do that. You've got, for example, blue, something. With Cambridge, it's the Greek gods. And you've got that lanyard that actually identifies as student. Not all schools do this, and it's actually a great fun. It's really good because you're part of the community by being, for example, at Abbey College Cambridge or Tirana College London. But being in the house makes you part of a smaller community. So you have obviously you build a stronger relationship with those students, etc. As you get older, you look after the younger ones, and these are great skills as well because you're helping them. Especially the new ones, if you've been there already a year, you've got new ones arriving, you've got all those kind of opportunities out there. Yes?
Që në çastin që hapëm dyert, u përpoqëm vetëm të shkëlqenim. Filluam Olimpiadën Kombëtare të Matematikës e të formimit të përgjithshëm dhe nuk u ndalëm, derisa u bëm pjesë e komunitetit global të shkollave të Cambridge-it, me programe dhe kualifikime të Cambridge International Examinations, lider botëror në ofrimin e programeve mësimore për moshat 5 deri 19 vjeç. Nxitoni të regjistroheni tek Udha e SHKRONJAVE, Cambridge International School, organizatore e Olimpiadës Kombëtare.